And thanks for staying with us. Now, Amnesty International has made some disturbing allegations against the Nigerian police, accusing them of intimidation and human rights abuses. Specifically, they claim that the police used excessive force to quash peaceful protest during the nationwide #EndBadGovernance demonstrations in August 2024, resulting in at least 24 deaths and over 1,200 detentions, including minors. Now, the organization has also reported that the police have been denying involvement in the killings despite overwhelming evidence, including eyewitness accounts, videos, and medical records. The denial has been described as a disturbing trend that undermines trust and perpetuates impunity. The Nigerian police have responded by demanding a retraction and apology from Amnesty International over alleged false publications. However, as some civil society organizations have come out to support Amnesty International, condemning the police's action as intimidation and harassment, some others have come out to call them out, saying that Amnesty, over its report on the August 2024 #EndBadGovernance protest, accusing the rights groups of bias and omission and also misrepresentation. The report, titled Bloody August, Nigeria's government's violent crackdown on #EndBadGovernance protest, alleged that 24 protesters were killed and 1,200 arrested, sparking global concern. Let's take a listen right now to a recent press briefing that did happen, where some of these civil society groups did call out Amnesty.
Amnesty International's report appears to be based largely on unverified claims from anonymous sources, with little to no verification or credibility behind this allegation. This raises serious questions about the integrity of the data used in the report. How can a reputable organization such as Amnesty International rely on unverified social media posts, blogs, and sensationalist news articles as the primary sources for such a serious report? We are the verifiable facts that should have been included. The lack of engagement with key stakeholders, such as the Nigerian police, local authority, and other relevant parties, further undermines the credibility of the report. A responsible organization with the intention of producing a balanced, factual, and fair report would have sought to interview all parties involved, including security agencies, to provide a more comprehensive and truthful account, dissecting Amnesty International sources and methodology. As we carefully examine the sources cited in the report, we will find that many of them are either unverified or verifiable or based on anonymous accounts that lacks transparency. This is highly concerning, especially considering the gravity of the allegations contained in the report. Amnesty International, an organization with a global reputation, should have adhered to higher standards of research, data collection, and engagement with all relevant stakeholders to ensure that the findings were balanced and rooted in verifiable facts. We are sad that a proper report should have engaged with official records, eyewitness testimonies, and had more comprehensive field research. We believe that Amnesty International has allowed itself to be misused as a tool by politically motivated individuals who seek to discredit the Nigerian government and security agencies without presenting a true and honest portrayal of events.
Well, there you just saw a press briefing there by some civil society organizations calling out Amnesty's report, saying that there needs to be more depth to it. Well, I'll be speaking with Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu. He is a retired commissioner of police. Of course, he joins virtually from Abuja on this conversation. I would also be speaking with Moussa Gambo, is Amnesty International's country representative for Cameroon, Nigeria, and Niger. And also in the studio with me is Olufemi Lawson. He is the National Secretary for Campaign for Democracy. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me on the program this evening.
Good evening.
All right, let me start off. Great. Let me start off with you, Moussa. I mean, you represent Amnesty International, and in your report, you have accused the Nigerian police of gross misconduct and also human rights abuses. I'd like you to establish more on this report and its content and context.
Okay, good evening, Master. Good evening for all the brothers and the sisters. My name is Moussa Gambo, representative of Amnesty International. The problem of Amnesty International in Nigeria, the government of Nigeria don't give opportunity don't give opportunity for the Amnesty International, because I said that the conviction, the army of Nigeria conviction, it don't give the report of the and welcome on the government. But the president of Amnesty International in Nigeria is busy. Amnesty International have the difficulty in Nigeria. Thank you.
All right. Basically, I believe that what you're trying to, of course, put together is that in that report, that's a bloody August, Nigerian government's violent crackdown on #EndBadGovernance protest, where you allege that about 24 protesters were killed, 1,200 arrested, alongside a series of other allegations, is what you tried to establish. But let me bring in the former police commissioner, that's a retired commissioner of police, Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, to speak on some of these allegations. We know that even aside this report, over the years there have been series of allegations leveled against the Nigerian police when it comes to civil engagement, particularly within the context of protest. I'd like your reaction to this report first, before we now get into some of these details.
Okay, thank you very much. I've had the privilege of reading that November 2024 report, and I've seen all the items listed and the allegations leveled against the Nigerian police by the Amnesty International. When I speak as a Nigerian citizen, I'm somebody who is interested in public affairs and issues of policing and security in this country. The Nigerian police has given its own response to that report, following which they call on Amnesty to issue an apology, retract. They get them an ultimatum. My assessment of that report is that it is not deep. It has weighty allegations that are not fact-checked, they are not thorough, and are not verified, they are not even verifiable. We've seen pictures, we've seen innuendos flying here and there. But we know in this country and elsewhere, when you allege that somebody did something, you need to show proof. You need to show proof. This is not the first time Amnesty is making such reports against Nigerian police, against Nigerian security services. In one of their reports, I know, I was first peer at that time. They wrote so many bad things about the police, and they were lucky I'll be seen when they launched it. And I read their preface to that publication. That preface read that Nigerian police is one of the security agencies they are targeted for criticism. Let's not, I'm a psychologist, they have a mindset. They have a bias against the police, and they would like to work from the answer to the question. That's what they call confirmation bias. That's what is called trying to give a dog a bad name to hang it. The report in itself has so many loopholes. The methodology is watery. It is sketchy. It's not deep. And it's not something that should be relied upon. And so Nigerian police has come against it to say, no, it is not proper. Make a retraction make an apology. If that's what they call a threat, well, I think we need to redefine the word threat.
Okay, now from some of the things that you said that it appears like there's a preconceived bias about the Nigerian police, and for that reason, maybe it impaired their judgment in that report, or it reflected in the context of the report, and that the report itself seems shallow. I would have loved, specifics in that regard. Where exactly is it shallow?
We need to look at what is the intention of that report.
Intention?
If the report is intended to show the backwardness or the corruption and the brutality of Nigerian police, I think they have failed, because it's not backed by facts, not backed by evidence. What they did was just a desk report. From my estimation, desk reports gathered here and there from sources that are not verifiable, sources that are not authentic. Anybody can publish anything on the social media. And like that group, I don't know that group I mentioned, those CSOs, you don't just see somewhere in a hotel room, gather reports on the internet and publish to disparage the oldest law enforcement agency in this country. That's not proper. That's not proper.
Okay.
And those people that they mentioned they are Nigerians. They belong to communities. Why haven't the communities raised an eyebrow? Why haven't they done that? Why didn't they cross-check their facts with Nigerian police that has records in 774 government areas of this country? The police is spread everywhere. And why the chain of command? A way of sending reports. There are secrets in force headquarters. There are secrets situation reports in command headquarters. Amnesty would have gone there, and using FOI, they would have been given the facts if they wanted.
Okay,
my grasp with it. This has shown their own.
Okay, because I mean, if you say that this report looks like something just coupled out from someone's desk, I mean, some Nigerians watching will tell you that what happened to the young individuals we saw that were arrested, and charged with treason, right? We've even had some of them, on this program, who talked about his ordeal, in incarceration. But let me bring it to the studio where, of course, I have Olufemi Lawson, the National Secretary of Campaign for Democracy. It's great to have you, sir. Now, let me also ask you your general take on this report by Amnesty.
For me, and as a civil society person, I'm particularly concerned about the integrity of such, process that has given birth to this report, because the implication is not just on Amnesty in Nigeria, but other civil society organizations, other non-government organizations that may seek, to probe the accountability and transparency of public governance. And that is why we must be very concerned about the integrity of whatever process we embark upon as a civil society. It is worrisome that, number one, if you look at the focus of that report, I haven't read it, I think it was deliberately focused on a region of the country, which ordinarily undermines the integrity of such report. It was majorly focused on the north, some states of the north, and this was supposed to be a nationwide protest, where people protested in Lagos, Benin, Port Harcourt, Ibadan, and other states of the country.
In many of those regions, there was, substantial violence.
That's where I'm coming to.
Okay.
Now, what has necessitated the focus? It is because there is already a bias. And all of us were here in August, where what was conceived to be a peaceful protest, against, the economic situation in the country became, a festival of looting, arson, and wanton destruction of lives and properties by hijackers who took over, the protest in these parts of the country. So a sincere report would have dared also into the issues around that protest, which demanded at that time for the intervention of not just the police, but the relevant security agencies. But Amnesty was silent on that. Amnesty was silent on the right of citizens whose properties were looted, whose assets were vandalized by these so-called protesters who hijacked an otherwise peaceful protest. A genuine report would have been all-encompassing. Amnesty was so concerned that lives were allegedly lost, but the life of a policeman killed was not a life as far as Amnesty was concerned, because he was not killed maybe in the area of their interest. In Lagos here, the Commissioner of Police had to come personally intervene when some protesters were molested by some policemen in Ojota, that the CP had to come, he has to come to their rescue, appeal to the protesters and intervene. Their rights were also at that point trampled upon. These were not in focus. So it easily suggests, like Dr. Ojukwu said, that there was a preemptive motive, you understand, for this report, and that alone has undermined the integrity of that report.
Okay, I mean, at this point, we'll go on a quick break. When we return, we'll, of course, ask Moussa Gambo, Amnesty International country rep, to respond to some of these very strong allegations. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. This, of course, is still Politics HQ on News Central Television, and we are discussing the allegations by Amnesty International against the Nigerian police as regards the fallout of the #EndBadGovernance protest, where they've been accused of human rights violations and, a couple of other gross misconduct. I have with me on the program Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, the retired Commissioner of Police, who is joining virtually. Also, I have Moussa Gambo, Amnesty International country rep, and in the studio with me is Olufemi Lawson, the National Secretary of Campaign for Democracy. Once again, gentlemen, thank you for your time. Let me go to you, Moussa Gambo. Moussa, before we went on that break, your Amnesty International, even right here on this program, as reaction to that report, they said that your report lacks substance. As a matter of fact, one of the discussants actually said it feels like, a report that was just, gotten on a table somewhere without due research, and that for that reason, it shouldn't be taken seriously. What's your reaction?
Okay, my reaction for this report about 3 years ago, I'm working for the Niger and Nigeria, Abuja. Please excuse me for my English. I am French man, no problem. The message is coming. About this situation now in Nigeria, but activists and Amnesty International or another activist for the human rights, the Nigerian government doesn't accept something for the defense for the 10 fundamental for the human rights. But the human right of first human right, the life. Because now I am Cameroonian. I'm representing Nigeria. I'm representing Nigeria. Because what? But I don't hear English very good. I don't hear English very good, but I'm going to have the difficulty. I have the difficulty because what? But I don't hear English very, very well.
Okay.
But I am Francophone. But this question for the Amnesty in Nigeria, I tell the president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for last time, I tell him Nigeria, the office of Amnesty International is look at because the government of Nigeria don't give opportunity of Amnesty International the worker.
Okay, so basically, if we got you correctly, what you're saying is that Amnesty International, you sort of stand by your report, saying that you stand by everything there. But let me bring it back to, of course, Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, retired Commissioner of Police. I mean, you said this report, to a large extent, lacks substance. But even away from this protest, there was the End Bad Governance protest and also the End SARS protest, where these same issues came up. Police engagement with civilians, especially when it comes to issues or situations of protest. These issues have come up time and time again, suggesting that maybe there needs to be some sort of special training. But we keep having these issues where people allege human rights abuses and whatnot. What is the missing link here? Why is it that these issues always come up?
Okay. No, the police that we have is an organization always in a dilemma. People were protesting about bad governance, about hunger, and stuff like that. Policemen also are hungry. Increase in fuel price or whatever affects policemen, still affects them. But they have the duty to maintain law and order. That is the mandate given to the police by Nigerians under Section 4 of the Police Act. That same law made by Nigerians, not made by the police, but made by Nigerians as the police to ensure public safety. And so the police will be going against their oath of office and their mandate. If they sit idly, or what they call in Nigeria, you don't look. As Nigerians of all hues, criminal elements, and those I may call never do wells, go on a rampage, destroying public property, infrastructure, maiming and looting, killing human beings. That is not the police of any nation's dream. In Nigeria police, which I served for 32 years, does not tolerate such. And it has a mandate to respond appropriately and adequately to restore sanity where it happens. When there's a riot, the police should not come with kid gloves. It is not a tea party. There are rules, the code of conduct of policing.
I mean, you said when there is a riot, but in this context, more often than not, it's a peaceful protest where you just have largely young persons coming together, with placards and, what have not. Let me give you a very practical example. For instance, during the last protest that happened, right, we had our reporters who were harassed, not by Nigerian police, by touts. And guess what? On the other side, Nigerian police were there looking on. It was captured on video, right? So, and then you ask yourself that, what happened there? So it's almost a situation of double standards. Maybe where some people protesting, on behalf of the government are left to do whatever, where some people are protesting maybe on behalf of citizens are the ones picked up at the slightest, will I call it, opportunity. So what's going on here?
Okay.
If we can get that video where our reporter was harassed, we'll play it on.
Anyway, the word harassment is subjective, it's also contextual.
Subjective?
It is also...
How subjective is the word harassment?
Yeah, let me come there. You place it in the context of what happened. You call it harassment, but police try to enforce law and order. You may call it harassment. That's why I say situate it within the context. I don't have the facts. But if policemen sit idly and people are disturbing your operation, you have the right to press charges, you have the right to make complaints. But there's no state police anywhere in the world that will allow for destruction of public property. People being killed here and there, and you call it police because you don't want people to be harassed. No, that police is not what its name. And that's not the police we want in this country. That protest was initially peaceful. And you found police going along with the protesters. Also along the line, we found who were not, among those who were making the peaceful protest, doing some things that were unpleasant, that were harmful to law and order. And your police, our police, has a responsibility given to them by the Constitution, by the law, and by God to make sure that peace prevails. Otherwise, we don't have a democracy. If there's no police, there's no democracy.
Okay, so
police is to promote human rights. So those protesting should not use their rights to protest, to deny other people of their rights. The police comes in between. That's why I say it has a dilemma. And anywhere police have done what they shouldn't have done, they are accountable. Every police officer, the regulation, police regulation, says that in the performance of his duty as a police officer, every officer is personally responsible or liable for a misuse of his power.
Can I ask you a very direct question, sir? In terms of, I mean, from your experience, with the police, in terms of the quality of training our police officers have, particularly when it comes to the issue of handling protest, how well trained will you say they are? Be factual.
Not about, well, of course, we are talking about it. As we speak now, I'm in Yola. I'm not in Abuja. I'm in Yola training policemen on human rights, on code of conduct. I've done that in 12 states of this country in the last 6 months. Training is ongoing. It is continuous. The police is a behemoth.
So are you saying it's not an issue of training now, but maybe some of them refusing to accept the training? Is that what you are saying, sir?
No. It is a part of issue of training. If you don't train somebody, don't blame him. How much money have we Nigerians voted for police training? This is not the first time there have been reports about the sorry state of police training institutions. It didn't start today. Even during Goodluck Jonathan, there was a report made. A channel like this went and showed it, and the president was annoyed. He later found that police institutions are moribund, dilapidated, nothing much is going there. It is by the intervention, goodwill of the government partners, and the few money police have that it is trained its personnel. If you don't train somebody, my friend, you cannot blame him. We don't have enough training in Nigerian police. Nigerians should vote more money for the police to train itself. The IT was on TV. I saw him National Assembly asking for more money to train his officers. And some people felt maybe he was wasting his time. You don't train somebody, you want to blame him. But there's training going on. It is ongoing. And the more it goes, the more we cascade the knowledge, the more we build up a change in attitude, the more we build up a change in behavior. Okay. But must be on to train our police. Okay. We don't train our police, let's blame the police.
Okay, I mean, I'm glad with the fact that you agree that in terms of quality of training, a lot still needs to be done, right? You made reference to the infrastructure and all of that. I'm going to come back to you, sir, particularly also on the area of recruitment of the quality of officers. But let me come to the studio right now and take Mr. Olufemi Lawson's take on some of these issues, that have been discussed, particularly when it comes to civil engagement during situations of protest, how police officers are able to ensure that protests, peaceful protests don't escalate into riot, and their level of training.
Thank you. Most times when you find peaceful protests turn into riots, it is usually because of infiltration. We're in this country when we protested in the days of the military. We're in this country when we protested in the days of General Obasanjo, and successive administration. But the culture of violence during protest, is becoming a thing that is worrisome. You call it peaceful protest, then the next time you find people looting stores, you find people harassing, innocent citizens, all in the name of being protesters. So while we should be concerned about professionalism on the side of the police and other security agencies, we should also be concerned as citizens about how much we have allowed, fifth columnists to infiltrate ordinary civic, processes like peaceful protest. For instance, no sane person will call what we witnessed in Kano in August, what we witnessed in Maiduguri in August, a peaceful protest. What Otherwise, it was supposed to be something that, like I cited an instance of Lagos. People marched from our way to Ojota peacefully. Policemen were giving water, giving biscuit. And at some point, some overzealous policemen came and began to harass protesters. The Commissioner of Police left his office to intervene in that kind of situation because he understood at that point that these protesters have been peaceful. So you always find errant persons, not only among the police, among every institutions that governs the public. But what is most important is that when you have a protest, when there's no leadership, when there's no coordination, you have opened the door for hijackers to come in, turn your protest. So it is important that the police, and you see, I was watching the IGP during the budget defense at the National Assembly. I sympathize really with the police and our security agencies because if you look at what is being voted for these institutions to perform, considering the number, you will realize that we still have a long way to go. And an untrained policeman is as, how do you call that? How do you expect that kind of person to have the required orientation, the required patience, in dealing with ordinary citizens, or a person that is not even well paid, beyond training. We're talking about welfare. I saw police distributing kits. At some point in this country, we've had our policemen have to go and sew their own uniform, buy their own boots, and so a lot has to be done beyond training to make even policemen and other security agencies, know that they're also human, treat them as human, and they must always understand that they have an obligation to the citizens. You must build a relationship. Because I'm afraid of one thing. If we continue to, demonize these institutions, we continue to make them scapegoat at every given opportunities, they will become vulnerable as a people. If nothing good, in our opinion, comes out from the police, every opportunity, condemn it. And we are still at the mercy of these same institutions when it comes to our public safety, our lives and properties, whether we like it or not. There are times that you could hardly drive from here to Ibadan because of the situation, the security situation on the road. But today you could comfortably take some miles out of Lagos because you are sure that between the next 10, 15 kilometers, there's a police checkpoint somewhere, there's it's a military checkpoint somewhere. Right. So as long as we are interested in probity and accountability of these institutions, we must also be conscious of avoiding the political opportunists from demonizing them to the extent that they want every citizen to look like nothing good can come out of these institutions, and it's not going to be to our advantage.
All right. So much to talk about on this particular matter, but let's go on another break. When we return, the show continues. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television. And of course, we are looking at matters arising around Amnesty International's allegation against Nigerian police, saying that there was gross misconduct and abuse during the last #EndBadGovernance protest, to which a report was released. I still have my guest with me. Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, I'm going to come to you this time around. Let's talk about the quality of recruitment and also, if at all, some sort of psychological, evaluation is being done from time to time, on members of this institution. And the reason is this. You hear a lot of young Nigerians say that, especially some of them that were picked up, they were picked up basically maybe on just physical profiling. They have dreads and tattoos, and automatically, because of their appearance, they are suspects. And then, you start asking questions like, is rocking a dread or a tattoo a crime, or is it part of the training booklet? So I'd like you to speak on quality of recruitment too. And also, if at all, from time to time, many of these officers, some sort of, psychological evaluation is done.
Okay. The police is always the whipping boy. He's the one we treat as a footmat, dustbin. All of garbage is poured on the police. Anything happens anywhere, police must be blamed. Somewhere somebody prepared palliatives, people died, they say blame police. It must continue. And the members of Nigerian police, they're all bona fide Nigerians. people 18 years and above, who were socialized by their families, where we know we have lost it in terms of morals. We have adult delinquency in Nigerian homes. These boys have copied it, and they are looking for work. We cannot employ foreigners. We employ Nigerian people to join the police, and then we don't train them well, and we're expecting good results. Let's tell ourselves the truth. If Nigerians want police to do the work, they should allow police do proper recruitment. I've taken part in processes whereby those we call VIPs, people in authorities, they will give you at least 20 names from my constituency. They must be recruited. Meanwhile, his state has space for 11.
So you are saying that more often than not, looking at the level from the stage of recruitment is mostly politically influenced, where politicians ensure that they get slots.
That is one. Two is that you are not recruiting from outside that. You are recruiting from Nigerians. Some of who went to bad schools, where the schools were on strike for 9 months. Nigeria. Our values have to change. We have lost value for life in this country. And we are giving those who have value for life because that's what we train them to become police officers. We recruit the best. The best don't get the best in this country. Our recruitment process, not only in the police, even in politics, the best don't get the best. You know it. You know it. It happens everywhere. So police should not be singled out and be demonized and thrown away as if they are the bad boys. No. Nigerian factor happened to the police in recruitment, in training, in posting, in remuneration. All these factors have to be considered if we really want a good police. States are now looking for their own police, state police. One man said, "At the laugh." Why do we laugh? What happened to their grandmother, Nigerian police? What happened to those state police issues? Because the same hand they are using to do Nigerian police, they will do to them. So there will be total collapse everywhere. It is a pity. If we do begin to do the right thing, orient ourselves properly, motivate those who are there, recruit properly, and train properly, you have a good police. That is my take on these issues.
Okay, let me bring it to the studio. Olufemi Lawson, you said that it's important that Nigerians stop demonizing this institution. I mean, those were your words. But again, how do you think trust can be built or established between the average Nigerian and a police officer on the street?
No, before saying that, I emphasized on the consistent need for probity and accountability. We must continually hold these institutions, including the police, accountable at all times. But while doing that, we must be conscious of our approach, particularly when it has to do with sensitive issues like producing a report that will be read internationally, and you have to fabricate figures, fabricate issues within such report. So as much as we're trying to emphasize on probity and accountability, we must be conscious of not of avoiding falsehood to the extent that it will demonize our institutions. But moving forward, for me, the question of accountability must be consistent. The question of making these institutions accountable is not negotiable, but we must also, as citizens, demand, more funding for these institutions. We must demand better welfare for these institutions, particularly the police, to the extent that if these institutions are well catered for, well funded, we should expect the best from such institutions. But sometimes we are challenged because when you look at the salary of the average policeman, look at the welfare condition, look at the level of training, and more so, the institution as it is, the police must also invest more in promoting citizens and the police engagement. It's very, very important. The current leadership of the police have been engaging the civil society, engaging stakeholders in communities, enhancing community police relationship. But I think more has to be done, particularly in engaging the citizens, so that the citizens don't see themselves on one side and the police being and an institution, there must be this synergy.
All right.
That must be created by the citizens and the police as an institution.
All right. I'd like to say a big thank you to all of you, gentlemen. Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, retired Commissioner of Police, who joins virtually from Abuja. Many thanks, sir. Also, Moussa Gambo is the Amnesty International country representative. Many thanks to you. And Olufemi Lawson, the National Secretary, Campaign for Democracy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a great one tonight. In case you missed out, you can actually catch up on our YouTube platform. And you can choose to follow us on social media. The handle is there on your screen. Tonight, there will be a repeat broadcast. You might also want to catch up on that. You could choose to follow me personally at Dakbo, at Digboye. Until I come your way tomorrow, good night.